Hello everyone, how are you? Welcome to Oliveboard. I hope you all are doing well. How's everything going? Okay, so here we are with our next topic, major acts and regulatory bodies. Am I right? I hope I am being audible and visible. I hope I am being audible and visible. Hello everyone. Okay, okay. So before starting, we'll just have a look at the super practice, SSC super practice tests, right? A wonderful feature. Uh, Here we give you 100 plus tests from beginner to advanced level, right? Uh, there are tests subject wise, topic wise, level wise. Okay, so like quant, may if I go divisibility, I have three levels, 20 questions each, 20 minutes each. Then I have past year questions separately, and then I have most repetitive questions, speed improvement, and revision. Okay, so a great feature, I would like to say a great feature because it is covering every aspect of your preparation. It is going for speed improvement also, revision also. Correct? Like this, you can go for reasoning, coding, decoding, general awareness, right? So suppose we are giving it, we are having economy, right? So physics, chemistry, history, geography, modern history, medieval, ancient, everything is covered. Polity, economy, right? Economic reforms, if we are just like we are doing major acts and regulatory bodies, right? So you can give a test for that as well. Okay, you can just go ahead and go ahead with the test. Okay, great feature. Please try to explore it further. Okay, we'll start with today's topic. So today's topic is major acts and regulatory bodies. Now the idea here is to make you aware of various, uh, we can say various acts which have been there for the proper and smooth administration of India, right? So we'll start with the history of acts. So all the acts I'll be covering, then regulatory bodies, and then we will be solving some questions. Okay, so first we'll see some major acts of India. So historical acts, if we talk about the modern history, right? And freedom struggle, we had Regulating Act of 1773. Now this was the first, this is the starter, correct? Opening batsman. Am I right? Then we had Pitt's India Act 1784. Then we had Charter Act. These are major acts, huh? Not all of them. Charter Act 1813 we had, 1833, 1853 we had, correct? Then we had the Government of India Act 1858, 1909. This is Morley, Minto Morley, right? Correct? Government of India Act 1919, Montague Chelmsford, correct? Then Government of India Act 1935, and finally Indian Independence Act 1947. The idea here is the main focus of ours will be post Independence Acts. This could we study in modern history or in polity. It's not part of, actually it's not exactly part of economy, right? Now, State Reorganization Act. This was a major act wherein the states were reorganized for better administrative efficiency. Okay, the Northeastern Areas Reorganization Act for Northeast states, correct? And then we have Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Act 2019. This though everyone knows. Article 370 was abolished, right? This everyone knows. Am I right? We are just seeing all the acts. You should be aware, at least you should know the name of the acts, right? My idea is to make you aware of these acts. Studying in detail is not required for these acts, so don't worry about it. Okay. Any issues, you can put it in chat. Okay. Now, social structure and preserving heritage. There are acts related to various things. So we studied historical acts. Then we saw consolidation and reorganizations, right? State reorganization we already saw. Northeast we saw. Jammu and Kashmir we saw, right? Next we have Social. So we have the Citizenship Act 1955. Okay. The SC Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribe Prevention of Atrocities Act 1989. Okay. This was done to stop persecution and atrocities done over scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. A major act, very important act. Okay. Then we have the Special Marriage Act 1954. Okay. Scheduled Tribes and Other Traditional Forest Dwellers Act 2006. Now, this gives some rights to the forest dwellers. Okay. This gives some rights to scheduled tribes which are living in the forest, so they can use some forest resources which are not open for public, which I cannot go there and utilize these resources. Okay. Then there is a very important act, Prohibition of Child Marriage Act. Correct? Prohibition of child. These are some of the acts, not all the acts. There is dowry, Prohibition of Dowry Act is also there. There are many acts. Okay. During the historical times, if you see the society, so there was a ban of sati, right? Prohibition of Sati Act. During the time of Lord Bentinck, it was there. And then we have Ancient Monuments and Archaeological Sites Act 1958. Now, this gives importance to archaeological sites and ancient monuments so that no one destroys them or harms, because these are cultural uh, monuments, right? They have national importance. Okay, so we have part 3 as social structure. These acts are related to social structure. Okay, next we have welfare and empowerment of women. So these acts are related to empowerment of women. Now, which are these acts? First, Dowry Prohibition Act. Very, very important. It was passed, right, for stopping dowry. Correct? Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005. The Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Act 2013. Okay. Then, so we have the POSH policy also. Correct? Muslim Women Protection of Rights on Marriage Act 2019, wherein the triple talaq was removed. Correct? The Muslim Women Protection of Rights on Divorce Act 1986. Okay. Now, these are some of the acts which have been passed for the betterment and empowerment of women. Okay. Welfare and empowerment of women. Okay. You might be asking that, sir, how do women get reservation in some jobs? If you see, there are some vacancies wherein female seats are separate, male are separate. Then from which act that comes? Can anyone tell me? From where does that come? Did you get my question? Women get reservation in some jobs. They have female seats, vacancies separate, male separate, right? How? Which statute gives that? From where it is coming? I'll give you a hint. So it is coming from Article 16 of the Constitution. Article 16 of the Constitution. Now, which part, which clause of Article 16, you let me know in the comment section. Okay, you let me know in the comments section. Done? Chalo. Next, we have polity, governance, and judicial structure. All the major acts related to polity, governance, and judicial structure. So, first, we have Representation of People Act 1950. Representation of People Act 1951. So these two acts, they deal with all of the election process, nomination, results, constituencies, voting, everything is covered in these two. Okay, election. The Parliament Prevention of Disqualification Act 1959, PESA Act. Okay, the Administrative Tribunals Act 1985, which strengthened the administrative tribunals. The Arbitration and Conciliation Act 1996, Gram Nyayalay Act. From this, Gram Nyayalayas were set up. Okay. Contempt of Court Act 1971. I cannot just go and criticize Supreme Court or High Court. I can criticize it, but not owing to contempt. Now, this contempt is of two types. Okay. One is civil contempt, one is criminal contempt. What is civil contempt? Civil contempt means suppose Supreme Court gave an order, but I was not able to follow it. I was not able to adhere to that order. That will be a civil contempt. Okay. But I'm using bad words. I am blaming judiciary. I am criticizing Supreme Court with foul language and trying to put down its authority. That is a criminal contempt. Okay. Prevention of Insults to National Honors Act. Very, very important. So, if suppose I throw the flag of India on the ground and someone stamps it, so that is covered under this. Insult to national honor. Suppose national anthem is going on, someone is not standing, someone is not respecting it, correct? Or making fun of it. That comes under this. Prevent of insults to national honor. National Judicial Appointments Commission Act 2014. Can anyone tell me what is there with this? Do we have anything related to this in the Constitution? Do we have anything related to this in the Constitution? So, National Judicial Appointments Commission, that was called NJAC. This act was declared null and void. Null and void. By which amendment? Can anyone tell me? So that is the 99th amendment. By the 99th amendment CAA, 99th constitutional amendment, NJAC, this act was declared null and void. 99th constitutional amendment act. Okay, because it was unconstitutional. Simple. Okay, chalo. Next, we have vulnerable sections, health, education, and human resource. So see, we have so many acts that we should at least read once about them, right? Juvenile Justice, Care and Protection of Children Act 2015, correct? Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act. This is also called POXO. Very, very important. Very, very big cases are there. There are POXO courts also. Fast track courts, POXO court. Okay. Juvenile justice. So this declares who is a juvenile. If a child commits a crime, they are tried under this. Okay. The Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act. Okay. Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Act. National Food Security Act. Aadhaar Act is also there. So the Aadhaar which you have, actually that is backed by a statute, Aadhaar Act. The Mental Healthcare Act 2017, Right to Education Act 2009, 86th Constitution Amendment Act. Very, very important. This Constitution Amendment Act amended fundamental rights also, DPSP also, and fundamental duties also. Okay. The Industrial Disputes Act 1947, Payment of Gratuity Act, correct? The gratuity which you get for your job. Unorganized Workers Social Security Act. Now, this is a socialist principle. This is a socialist angle, correct? The Maternity Benefit Act 1961, Code on Wages. So what wages you get, equality of pay, all that. Manrega, correct? Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. Bonded Labor System Abolition Act. So bonded labor was abolished via this act. Prohibition of Employment as Manual Scavengers Act. This is to remove manual scavenging. This is to remove manual scavenging. Okay. Right to fair compensation in land acquisition. Whenever government or a body, state acquires your property in national interest, they need to compensate you. So the Right to Fair Compensation Act makes sure that you are getting the uh, deserving value of your property as a claim. Okay, as a compensation. Okay. Then we have Transparency in Governments. We have Prevention of Corruption Act, POCA. We also call it as POCA, Prevention of Corruption Act. Correct. Central Vigilance Commission Act, Right to Information Act. Very important. Right to information. If suppose I want to get some information about a government's expenditure on a certain project, I can go ahead with this. This act gives me the authority to get that information. Lokpal and Lokayukt Act. This establishes the office of Lokpal and Lokayukts, right? And the Whistleblowers Protection Act. Now, what is this? So, suppose there is some correction. I am in government. Okay, there is some corruption going on in my office. Very high level corruption is going on. I can just silently go and tell Vigilance Commission that, sir, something is wrong here. There is something wrong going on here. But if I tell, they might tell it to someone and I might get into risk, no? Someone will threaten me. So this act makes sure that their identity is not revealed. So whistleblower protection is that. Whistleblower is the person who tells, who informs, correct? Who informs. So they don't get their identity revealed. Their identity is kept secret. Okay. For prevention, I told you we have POCA, है ना? Prevention of Corruption Act. Okay. All good. Then we have so many acts related to economy. Now, this is important for us. This is today's main agenda. This page is today's main agenda. The Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act 2003. This gives us targets regarding fiscal deficit, maintaining fiscal deficit. The CAG's Act, Duties, Power and Conditions of Service Act, Income Tax Act 1961, GST legislation 2017, Companies Act, Competition Act 2002, SAR-FACI Act 2002. Okay. Securities and Asset Restructuring. Okay. Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. Fugitive Economic Offenders Act 2018. This is for like people who do corruption here and they run away to some other country. There were many cases, right? So this fugitive economic offenders means they did some economic offense and they vanished. Prevention of Money Laundering Act, we call it as PMLA, correct? Foreign Exchange Management Act, FEMA. The Foreign Contribution Regulation Act, very, very important. FCRA deals with all the contribution coming from outside of India, correct? So in case of funding of NGOs, which was a major concern, there were many NGOs who were receiving funds from unknown foreign payers. So this is controlled under this Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. RBI Act, it established RBI, Reserve Bank of India in 1934. SEBI Act established Securities Exchange Board of India. The Essential Commodities Act 1955, very important. This was in function in COVID. So when the government starts rationing or holding some uh, important, maybe it's food stuff or chemicals or vaccines, medicines, it comes under Essential Commodities Act. The government has the right to do that. The Food Safety and Standards Act. Now, this is a lot in news because of Maharashtra. One person, IAS, he's very much Tukaram, Sir IAS Tukaram. He's monitoring this a lot very strictly. The Mines and Minerals Development and Regulation Act. This gives the authority to the government to mine, to go ahead with mining and utilizing the resources, right? We have Motor Vehicles Act 1988. So when you go out on a scooty without a helmet and you get caught and you have to pay challan, where is that written? It is written here. How much challan you have to pay, why you are paying, why you don't have a driving license, all that. The Cigarettes and Other Tobacco Products Act 2003. Narcotics, Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act 1985 and Consumer Protection Act. Very, very important. Now, this act protects the consumers from what? From getting betrayed, from getting cheated, correct? By overpricing or giving a substandard quality product. This is consumer protection. So there is consumer protection forum also. Consumer forum. You can go there and you can lodge your complaint. Okay. Then technology के लिए we have the Information Technology Act 2000 and the Telegraph Act 1885. See the year, correct? 140 years almost old, 141 years. Intellectual property rights, we have the Copyright Act 1957, Patents Act 1970, Trademarks Act 1999, and Geographical Indication of Goods Act 19. So the GI tags which we get, you have studied in your current affairs, na, this got GI tag. Like Sirsa Kinno recently got Sirsa Kinno from Haryana. First fruit from Haryana to get a GI tag, Sirsa Kinno. So it is given under this act, Geographical Indications of Goods Act. Protecting for environment, we have Indian Forest Act 1927, Wildlife Protection Act 1972. Very, very, very important, these two acts. Environment Protection Act 1986. Okay. This came after the Bhopal gas tragedy. This act came after the Bhopal gas tragedy. Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act, Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act, NGT Act, very important, National Green Tribunal, Protection of Plant Varieties and Farmers' Rights Act, and Biological Diversity Act. These all acts are very, very important with respect to saving of environment. Now, this Wildlife Protection Act, this is a very important one. Okay. So the institutions like NTCA and all have been formed under this act, National Tiger Conservation Authority. Okay. Wildlife Protection Act. Clear? And then we have security and disaster management. So Indian Penal Code, now it has changed to Bharatiya Nyay Sanhita. Correct? Bharatiya Nyay Sanhita. Sanhita. Okay. Bharatiya Nyay Sanhita. Then we have Code of Civil Procedure, Bharatiya Nyay Suraksha Sanhita. Correct? Code of Criminal Procedure 1973 also. Bharatiya Sakshya Sanhita, Indian Evidence Act. Sakshya means proof. Okay, the Arms Act 1959. We have the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, UAPA. So this is the act in which you can go under preventive detention also. Same goes for NSA, National Security Act. These two acts deal with, you can say, anti-national substances which try to threaten India's security and integrity. Official Secrets Act, whatever information is there in the government with the administration for the betterment of larger public interest, they are kept as secret. National Investigation in NG and NIA is formed out of it. Correct? The Armed Forces Special Powers Act, AFSPA. This is called AFSPA. Okay, like in Northeast, you would have seen this is being implemented many a times, right? When this comes into play, when the local machinery or the administration has is not functioning properly, or it has failed to uh, work on. Okay, clear? I hope everything is going good. Okay. Epidemic Disease Act 1897. Again, in time of COVID, this came into being. And then we have the Disaster Management. So NDMA is formed under this National Disaster Management Authority. Okay. So all these acts have some, you can say, institutions related to them, or a dedicated purpose. Okay. Then we have regulatory bodies in India. Now, what are regulatory bodies? Regulatory bodies are specialized institutions. They regulate and oversee specific sectors. Like for banking, we have one, correct? RBI, insurance, IRDAI, telecommunication, correct? That is TRAI, TRI, है ना? Then we have energy, food safety, education, everything, law, everything has some or the other regulatory bodies. They are like watchdogs. They maintain transparency in governments, first thing. Second, they promote fair competition, they improve service quality, correct? And finally, support effective expert led regulation. It is very important to maintain transparency and fair competition. So, we have functions of regulatory bodies we already discussed. You can have a look: ensuring compliance, promote transparency and accountability, encourage fair competition. They monitor service and quality and safety standards to protect consumer interests. I told you consumer forums are there. Market stability, SEBI is there. Prevent monopolistic practices, competition commission is there. Support economic growth and investor confidence, RBI is there. Correct. So these are, so just have a look. So we have constitutional bodies as regulatory bodies, election commission, finance commission. Correct. Statutory bodies mein we have SEBI, TRAI, IRDAI, and CCI. Securities and Exchange Board of India. These are constitutional regulatory bodies. They get their creation by constitution. These are by act of parliament. SEBI, Telecom Regulatory Authority, Insurance Regulatory and Competition Commission. Then we have some independently working bodies like University Grants Commission, All India Council on Technical Education. Correct? For finance, we have RBI, SEBI, Provident Fund Regulatory Development Authority. These are related to markets and financial institutions, right? For particular sector specific industries, we have FSSAI, Food Safety Standards Authority of India, CERC, ERA, correct? So these are some types of regulatory bodies. Now there is a difference. We have constitutional bodies, correct? Their purpose is for constitution functions. They get their powers from the constitution, okay? Like election commission. Statutory bodies are made by the act of parliament, okay? They have administrative functions. They are defended by law, like National Human Rights Commission, National Medical Commission, like that. And then we have regulatory bodies. So there are constitutional bodies, statutory bodies, regulatory bodies. We are talking about regulatory bodies, okay? Usually created through statutes. We saw na National Disaster Management Act or this Wildlife Protection Act. Their job is to regulate sector wise. Supervision will be sector wise. Regulatory and enforcement powers they have, like RBI, SEBI, TRI, IRDAI, all those things. Okay, clear? So we have RBI, SEBI, you can have a look, right? IRDAI, their respective functions are there. Telecom Regulatory Authority. We have Competition Commission of India. Airport Economic Regulatory Authority, ERA, has been created. Central Electricity Regulatory Commission is there. Food Safety and Standards Authority of India. Competition Commission of India makes sure there is fair competition, right? So we have a list of all the uh, regulatory bodies and their heads as of 2026. Now I'll tell you to be careful when you read this column, because this keeps on changing very frequently. Okay, I have presented to you all the headquarters. So you will get in this PDF, you have all the headquarters, their functions, established year, and the name, and the current head as of 2026. So it is a one stop destination for you. This PDF, if you read, a lot of current affairs is also covered, but make sure you update it. Like Sanjay Malhotra is currently RBI head, SEBI head is Tuhind Khan Pandey, IRDI Ajay Seth, PFRDA Shivasubramaniam Raman, TRAI Anil Kumar Lahoti, CCI Rabneet Kaur, Punya Salila Srivastav Fasai, CERC Jishnu Barua, Ravi Mittal IBBI, and AERB is AK Subramaniam. Okay, like this, we have other bodies also. Now, regulatory bodies need to be independent, so their independence is very much important, because if government starts influencing in those appointments, then transparency is suffering. Okay, so we have achievements of regulatory bodies. You can have a look. Let us try out some questions. Okay, let us try out some questions on these bodies. I hope you have now an insight about all the major acts and regulatory bodies. Okay, achievements of regulatory bodies. You can have a look later. SEBI was established in, when was SEBI established? After the Harshad Mehta scam. When did that happen? So it was established in 1992. SEBI was established through a statutory body through SEBI Act. So SEBI Act is there for establishment of Securities and Exchange Board of India. So stock exchange. Who regulates the stock exchange? It is this. Okay. Competition Commission of India functions under which act? So pretty obvious, there is a proper act. Now this body is also brought by a statute. Which is that statute? Competition Act 2002. Okay, so Competition Commission of India, its function is to prevent anti-competitive prices like predator pricing, predator pricing, all that. Easy. So please remember that. RBI was established under which act? Very easy. Just now I told you. Before independence, it has its own act. That is RBI Act 1934. It commenced operation from 1935. So again, this is the statute of the RBI. RBI, all the powers are derived from RBI Act. Suppose, for example, I'll give you an example. What are scheduled banks? What are scheduled banks? These are those banks which whose name is there, who are registered under second schedule of what? Of RBI Act 1934. Just an example. Okay. So scheduled banks are those banks which are registered under the second schedule of this RBI Act only. Okay. Which act replaced FERA, Foreign Exchange Regulation Act? Which act was that? Which act was that? Foreign Exchange Management Act, FEMA 1999. It replaced FERA to facilitate external trade. It was regulatory, so they liberated it a bit, and it became Foreign Exchange Management Act. So now it is FEMA. Okay. IRDAI regulates what? Banking sector, telecom sector, insurance sector, or capital market? Which one? IRDAI. So I say you can make out. Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India, right? IRDAI oversees insurance companies and policyholders. Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India, IRDAI. TRAI regulates what? Now, again, very simple. The first letter of the word can tell you the answer. Very easy. That is Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, TRAI. It deals with telecom services. So if you would be getting a message on your phone, no, many a times, TRAI never asks for an OTP. TRAI helps you in protecting against this. Correct? So that is TRAI. There was a limitation on sending messages or something. So TRAI messages used to come. That as per the TRAI regulations, these many messages are only allowed like that. National Green Tribunal was established under which act? These are called regulatory bodies, but many of them are also statutory bodies also. Now, what are statutory bodies? They are under a statute like NGT. It is a regulatory body and statutory body. Why? It has its own statute, that is the National Green Tribunal Act 2010. Okay, like SEBI Act, NGT Act, correct? Okay. Which regulator governs mutual funds? Mutual funds. Think which regulator? Mutual funds. It is SEBI. Mutual funds operate under SEBI, Securities and Exchange Board of India. NABARD was established in National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development. National Bank for Agriculture and Rural Development. NABARD was established in 1982. Okay, for agricultural and rural development. Which body regulates pension funds? Pension funds. Pension Fund Regulatory Development Authority, right? Pension Fund Regulatory and Development Authority. RTI Act came into force. We just talked about it. Right to information. Remember? RTI Act. It came into force in. So information commissioners are there, no? Information commissioners. They are appointed under this act. So it came in 2005. It's empowers citizen to seek information from public authorities. From public authorities, not private authorities. Okay. Which act governs companies in India? Companies. Very easy. The direct name is there. Companies Act 2013. Suppose I'm in starting a new company or a new startup. I need to register under this Companies Act 2013. Okay. NHRC was established under National Human Rights Commission. Was established under which act? NHRC. So it was established under Protection of Human Rights Act 1993. Okay, safeguards human rights. It is very debatable. Many of them claim that NHRC is a toothless tiger, and that is different. But Protection of Human Rights Act gives origin to the NHRC. Lokpal was established under which act? Just now we saw Lokpal. So Lokpal was established under Lokpal and Lokayukt Act 2013. It investigates corruption allegations against public servants. Lokpal and Lokayukt. Lokpal at central level, Lokayukt at state level. Please remember this. Okay. So friends, this was our class regarding this. We have few more questions. Just a moment. Just let me have a look. Okay, few more questions will do. So Regarding the acts, the Regulating Act 1773 was primarily to which one? Four more questions we'll do on acts. This we did on bodies, right? Introduce diarchy, regulate administration of the East India Company, transfer power to British Crown, or grant complete independence to India. Now see, this was 1919, correct? This was 1958. This was 1947, Government Independence of India Act 1947, Government of India Act 1948, Montague Chelmsford. Now this was the act which talked about major step for British Parliament to regulate the affairs of the East India Company. Okay, next, which act is known as mini constitution? Which act is known as mini constitution? Now that act is the primary basis of our constitution also. Our constitution is mainly derived from that. That is Government of India Act 1935. Federal scheme and several institutional features have been adopted from the Indian constitution from Government of India Act 1935. Okay. Next, which act abolished the East India Company's rule and transferred power directly to the British Crown? Abolished East India Company and transferred power. Which is the act? Tell me. Charter Act 1833, GOI 1858, Councils Act 1861, or Government of India Act 1909. So it was Government of India Act 1858. It was after the rule of 1857 that the Britishers learnt a nice lesson and they transferred the power to British Crown. Okay. After this only the Governor General was named as Viceroy, right? And Canning was the first Viceroy of India. Lord Canning, correct? He was the first Viceroy. The Indian Independence Act was passed in which year? Very easy. When we got our independence, obviously in that time. So this is a common sense question, right? 1947. It partitioned British India into two dominions, India and Pakistan, and granted them dominion status. Then the powers were transferred and India became a republic. Okay. Which of the following reorganized Indian states mainly on the basis of language? Mainly on the basis of language. Which act reorganized the states mainly on the basis of language? Now, which act was that? We have discussed about it just now. It was State Reorganization Act 1956. It largely reorganized states on linguistic lines on the recommendations of State Reorganization Commission. Okay, so these were some of the important questions, everyone. We studied about various acts and regulatory bodies. There are some extra questions also I have brought for you. Please try it out. I have brought a lot of questions related to many acts and regulatory bodies. Okay, there are at least 50 plus questions in this. So please do try this PDF. Okay, and we'll be meeting soon in next session. Thank you, everyone.